Hey fellow designers, it's Karen of Made by Karen M. I recently released my corset crop top pattern, and today I'm sharing a little tutorial with you guys on how to put it all together. Now, some of these clips are time lapses, so if you need me to slow anything down, just let me know. You're gonna need a lining fabric and a main fabric, and yes, both of them must stretch at least two-way stretch horizontally. So I have black spandex for my lining fabric. I have folded it over horizontally, and then I'm taking my main fabric, which is also a spandex type fabric. I have that folded over horizontally, and then I'm laying them both on top of each other so that the folds line up, and that way I can cut everything out at once. The one pattern piece that has to be placed on the fold is the princess center panel, because you're cutting out a symmetrical piece. So you're going to get a main piece and a lining piece, but then the other two pieces can be placed anywhere because they don't need to be cut on the fold. You're going to end up with two lining pieces and two main pieces for each of them, the side panels and the back panels. When you're done cutting, you should have all the pieces that you see laid out on the bottom of the screen. Lining pieces are the black ones and the main pieces are the ones with color on them. In this next clip, I'm combining steps 7, 8, and 9. So I'm pinning my side panels to my princess center panel, and then I'm also pinning my back panels to my side panels. So in the end, I'm going to end up with one long corset bodice main fabric panel, and then I'm sewing each of them together using a zigzag stitch and a 1/2 inch seam allowance. This part is optional, but you'll also see that when I sew the pieces together, I'll stop and trim some of the excess seam allowance off. I think this helps with the bulkiness of the seams, but it's totally up to you whether you want to do that part. Once you have all the main fabric pieces sewn together, you're going to complete all the same steps to do your lining fabric pieces. So you should end up with two identical pieces for the main fabric and the insides. I also wanted to note, when you are sewing your princess seams to your side panels, there is going to be a curve to follow on the side panel piece. So here's an example of what your stitch line should look like after you've sewn it together. So I'm kind of skipping around a bit because this is actually step 1 in your instruction booklet. I'm using my cotton covered boning. It's in my Amazon storefront if you need to know where to find it. I do not recommend buying this from Joann because it gets really expensive when you're just buying 2 yards at a time. Definitely get it in bulk. So I'm using my sewing pattern pieces as a guide on how to cut my boning. And when I say cut a set, I mean cut 2 identical pieces or a pair. So for your center panel, you're going to cut 3 pairs. For your side panel, you're going to cut 1 pair, and then you're going to cut 1 pair for the center of the back panel. Now the pieces are going to be very curly, so the next thing you're going to need to do is iron them. If you have a steam iron, make sure you put some water in it so it can get nice and hot and really flatten the boning out for you. Another thing you're going to have to do is give yourself some seam allowance in your boning. So you're going to take each piece of boning, slide it out by about 1.25 inches, and snip it off with a pair of good scissors. And then slide your boning back in. And you're going to have about a 1/2 inch seam allowance on each side of your boning. This is going to allow you to sew the boning in without having to sew through it in your seams. Next thing you're going to do is take your lining corset piece and you're going to pin your boning to it. Now this part is critical because you have to make sure everything is very symmetrical or it can throw off the shape of your boning. So as you can see, I have a piece on each of the back pieces in the center, and then I have a piece on the side seams where the back piece connects to the side piece, and then I have my 3 pairs in the center princess seam. Now you can choose to do these pieces one by one or pair by pair, but I chose to pin everything at once and then just sew everything down at once as well, just to get it over with faster. But if you're a beginner, you might want to just do piece by piece. When you are sewing your boning down, this is what you should be going for. You don't have to sew through the plastic boning. There are stitches on each side of that cotton casing. So all you have to do is follow those stitches and sew in a straight line. When you reach the bottom of the boning, you're going to lift your presser foot, turn your corset, sew across the bottom of the boning. Again, there should be seam allowance there. You shouldn't really have to sew through it. And then turn it again and go back up the other side of the boning, and just repeat all of these steps until you have sewn all of the pieces down. And again, make sure it's symmetrical. Symmetry in sewing is always key. Next, you're going to take your main fabric corset, lay it face up, lay your lining piece on top with the boning face up, and then you're going to pin it along the top and the bottom. Sew it together using a zigzag stitch and a 1/2 inch seam allowance. It's going to look like this. Next, you're going to flip it right side out and pin it flat all along the top and the bottom edge. We're going to be top stitching it. This is a personal preference. I just feel like it gives it a neater finish. For this part, you will have to sew through some boning, so I recommend using a size 16 or 18 leather needle. They're very strong and they go through boning pretty well, so it's less likely that your needle will break. You're just going to run a straight stitch all along the top and the bottom of the corset. Now, in the corset that I wore to the concert, I ended up doing a zipper instead of the lace-up effect because 1, I was crunched for time, and 2, I wanted to wear a bra with my corset, so I didn't want my back showing. Now, if you do want the lace-up look, in the instruction booklet, you'll see it recommends that you maybe go down a size so that you'll be able to pull tighter and still have some of your back exposed, but still also really get that bust support where you need it. I have a time lapse of me doing the zipper, but if y'all need a more in-depth explanation, let me know. The only difference with this, it has to be a separating zipper, and you want to start pinning the zipper to your corset starting from the bottom. You're going to cut it off at the top, not the bottom, because you need that separating piece in order to be able to put the corset on. After you sew your zipper in, don't forget to fold it back behind your fabric and top stitch it. That adds more stability. And then when you're done, you're going to snip off the top, fold it down, and top stitch it as well to keep the zipper from sliding off the track. Here's what the back of my corset looks like. You can see where I folded the zipper down and top stitched it. The other option for the closure of your corset is corset loops. Now, I do cover how to do these in the instruction booklet, but if you guys want to see a video, let me know and I will make another one and focus fully on how to do the corset loops. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thanks to all the people that have purchased a corset crop top pattern thus far. If you haven't gotten yours yet, make sure to go to Etsy at the link in my bio. This is a great get your feet wet corset pattern because we are about to dive deep into how to make corsets. My next pattern is going to be about how to build an actual bra into your corset. So if you haven't worked with boning before, this is a perfect opportunity to get some practice because things are about to get real serious. I'll see you guys in the next video.